Welcome to Ladders. I am USA Today's Christian DeAndre. He is a Rhode Island Scumbag, Mike Boyajian. What we're going to do today is talk about some of the guys climbing up your waiver wires, who we would pick them over for our fantasy teams, and who we would drop to bring them on board. We got three big names today, but first, Yash, how you feeling?
Feeling great. I feel like this is a broken record, but every time the Patriots win is going to be a great Monday for me. And Drake May just keeps building that MVP case week after week. And we also can't forget the fact that the rookies, Henderson and Williams, came through huge yesterday. So it looks like for everyone screaming bust for the Patriots rookies, thank you for having no faith and now having to eat crow.
Yeah, the NFL messed up. The Patriots can draft again, which is nice to see. Just a bunch of guys out there who are young as hell and really coming through, along with Stephon Diggs, who is almost Yash, is going to have as many touchdowns as babies on the way this season. So very proud of him for coming through in the clutch.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about guys at your fantasy positions. And we talked last week how it's a barren wasteland out there for running backs. But one guy was a little bit surprised to see available in about 2/3 of Yahoo leagues, Yash, Tyler Allgeier, Atlanta Falcons. He had his big game, the one he gets every year, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, only on the field for 23 snaps, but got the ball about half of them there. So this is a big, big moment for the former BYU star. The 1,000-yard rusher is a rookie who's now playing behind one of the most dynamic athletes in the game. Yep. The question is, do you want Tyler Allgeier over? Let's start off with a guy right around on his level, Tyjae Spears of the Tennessee Titans.
All right. In this case, I would take Tyler Allgeier. However, as a Bijan owner, I feel like at this point in the year, if Allgeier is out there, you have to go get him just to safeguard yourself against a potential injury. And you don't want to be dealing with waiver wire fodder. You don't want to be dealing with fab blind bids with your league mates. Just, get ahead of it if he's there and you have Bijan pick him up. But in this case, Tyjae Spears, I still think that there's just really not enough offense going on.
So what you said, if Bijan Robinson goes down, Allgeier turns into like a $75 waiver bid. I don't want no part of that. So I get the handcuff there 1,000%. Spears has been a solid change of pace running back, but the numbers portray him more of a slightly below average guy to Tony Pollard's average running back. The rush yards over expected aren't quite there. And it does seem like even if he does get more run, he's not going to be able to do as much with it as his RB1 is at the moment, which is why even Mike McCoy is like, well, we could use the change of pace now that I'm interim head coach, but Tyjae, you stay over there, bud. You come in moments. So I don't necessarily see the upside there beyond, and this is important, the PPR value. Allgeier, 6 targets this season. Spears, I think, has 14 in his last 3 games. He's a guy who's going to give you those points through the air, but not necessarily with receiving yards. So if you're in a regular old-fashioned league, and like, what the hell is it, man, 2004? Yeah, go Allgeier because he's going to get you those rushing yards, more rushing yards than Tyjae Spears will. But Spears is going to get you the PPR value. Next man up, 61% owned, coming off the injured list soon. We just don't know when. Presumptive Arizona Cardinals RB1, Trey Benson. Yash, who you taking, Tyler Allgeier or Trey Benson?
All right, if it comes down to simply picking up a guy off the waiver between these two and you don't have Bijan, I'm going to go with Trey Benson. He showed some flash before he got hurt, and the schedule is pretty decent for Arizona down the stretch in terms of running back production against their opponents. And once again, Allgeier is kind of just popping in the red zone for the most part. Problem is, if Atlanta doesn't get to the red zone, they're not going to use him. So that's why you see these games where Allgeier's, putting up, 2 points, 0.6 points at one point with 6, he has those cavernous games where, they're just not getting down to the areas where they like to use him. And we all know Bijan's capable of breaking off a 30-yard run at any moment. So I'm going to lean Benson on this one. Pretty convincing.
To your point, Allgeier, 5 red zone carries in Berlin in week 10. Bijan only had the 1. So it makes him a little bit more difficult to trust. The baseline is not necessarily going to be there. The floor and the ceiling are wildly and vastly different. Whereas a guy like Benson is going to get a lot of opportunities, put up huge rush yards over expected in limited usage behind James Conner, had basically one game to prove himself, immediately gets hurt, but he has the home run potential. He's got that ability to crank out the 20 plus miles an hour on the breakaway run. And he is going to add that receiving utility that you don't necessarily get out of Tyler Allgeier. And by don't necessarily get, I mean, you don't get at all. So give me Trey Benson on this one, even though his status is nebulous. We don't know when he's coming back. We don't know what the Cardinals running back room is going to look like because there's been so much upheaval there. I think Benson is just too good for even a coach like Jonathan Gannon to ignore.
Right.
Finally, a little bit of a surprise here. Isaiah Pacheco, Kansas City Chiefs, 71% owned, but having an underwhelming year in a very disappointing Chiefs running attack. Not putting up huge numbers. So, Yash, do you want the Falcons RB2 or do you want the Chiefs kind of, sort of RB1?
I might sound a little crazy here, but give me Tyler Allgeier over. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy being, holding on to a guy who's part of a 3-4-headed monster at this point in Kansas City. I mean, he doesn't really have a defined role other than sometimes early down back, depending on how Kareem Hunt looks. He's not getting any passing down work whatsoever. And, he's not even guaranteed red zone and goal line work at this point. Plus, he's been banged up. So if it comes down to Allgeier, who's guaranteed red zone work whenever they get it, or Pacheco maybe getting an opportunity, I think I'm just going to go with Allgeier. As crazy as that sounds, I know it sounds crazy when I'm saying it, but
we just saw Allgeier do more with less in week 10, whereas Pacheco's been doing less with more, 40 plus snaps each of his last 4 games, but only 219 total yards in that stretch, only 17 of which came through the air. This is a guy who only has 60 fantasy points through 8 games. He's had less of an impact than Allgeier, and he seems to be kind of stuck in that he's going to get you 6 to 10 points any given week. This is a guy, I believe, Yash, only has 1 game this season with double-digit points. I don't know how you trust him. I don't think the boom is there quite the way it is with a guy like Tyler Allgeier because he's going to get those red zone carries. And the schedule is going to be a little bit tougher for the Chiefs going forward compared to the Falcons, who get to play a lot of softer defenses, except for, of course, Vita Vea and the Buccaneers. So this is a coin flip for me. I don't like either guy necessarily. If I have to lean on one, it's going to be very matchup dependent. I think I want Pacheco, but man, I don't know.
Again, he's shaken all faith in what he built up over the last couple of years with, ever since his injury, basically. So, I mean, I feel like we're almost going name brand at that point.
The ground, and it's tragic to see.
That stinks.
Yeah. Our next man up, wide receiver, Houston Texans, 2nd round rookie, Jayden Higgins. We're going to take Higgins and we're going to compare him against guys you might also pick up from the waiver wire, but also go level up and a level up so you get a better idea of who to drop to bring him on board. Now, Yash, Higgins is one of your guys, a guy you picked up in the Rhode Island Scumbag League. He's since been dropped because he's very, very uneven. He really needs red zone targets to be active, but he was a useful piece in that Davis Mills comeback, which I don't know if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, how you can ever get back to playing regular football once you've given up a 19-point fourth quarter lead to Davis, by God, Mills. However, Higgins out there, 7 targets, 5 catches, only 42 yards, but he did get in the end zone. That's his 2nd double-digit performance in 3 weeks. So, Yash, let's scrape the waiver wire. Are you picking up Jayden Higgins, or are you going for another guy who's been surprisingly active in 2 of the last 3 weeks? Our guy from the New England Patriots, Mack Hollins.
This is a tough decision because, like you said, Mack has looked great the last 2 out of 3 weeks. The caveat is it's still the New England passing attack, and they kind of they don't really have a pattern as to who they like to go to week. It's kind of just, it's like the old school with Brady. It's like whoever the open man is the best man. And that's kind of how they've been operating. So I know Higgins has started to come on a little bit more. Yeah. And the only hesitancy I have is it was David Mills. Typically the backups for some one way or another, they tend to perform well with the younger guys or the guys that tend to be more bench stashes when they get their chance because they're comfortable with those guys. Those are the guys who they practice with earlier on in the season. So I do have to take that into account, but I think I'm still going to lean Higgins in this one just because of the uncertainty of the Patriots offense.
Yeah, Hollins has been great this year. He's a guy who's brought in for his downfield blocking. He's brought in to be an adult in the room with that offense, and he's brought in for those vibes, right? This is a guy that shows up dressed like Fred Flintstone. It's 6 degrees out and he's barefoot. He's one of those good weirdos you want in the locker room. But lately, he's been getting open. He's been creating space, and he's been a reliable target for Drake May. I think the issue for me is that he's also got that with Kayshon Boutte, who is another guy who's going to get those targets in the intermediate and deep range, create some space, get the ball, and then pretty much fall over. That's how it goes. I really like what Hollins brings to the table for this Patriots team, but there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense and a lot fewer in Houston where, yes, you have Nico Collins, but after that, who's going to be getting the ball in the passing game? So far, it's been Dalton Schultz. We'll talk more about him later. But otherwise, you don't really have a lot of guys inside the circle to trust there. On the other hand, you also have a much shakier quarterback situation. Stroud had been uneven earlier in the season, came on, head injury. Davis Mills is in the game now. It's a lot of uncertainty on both sides. I think ultimately, rather than the 32-year-old Hollins, who maybe has a defined ceiling, you wait and see what Higgins can do. You bring him on board, you stash him, you hang on to him.
Right.
Next man up, a guy you probably have to drop at this point because he is 32% owned. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide out with 2 touchdown catches against the Patriots in Week 10. Tez Johnson. Yash, who you want in this case, Jayden or Tez?
I'll take Tez here. He's been proving week after week that he is not just going to be a flash in the pan. He looked good again, like we said yesterday, against the Patriots. And it doesn't really seem like he's slowing down too much. He seems to be one of Baker's guys. We know that Mike Evans isn't going to be returning anytime soon. We know that Godwin is still a couple weeks away. So the rapport keeps building with Tez, and I like what I see from him. So I'm going to go with him just because he's had more opportunities and he's capitalized on them week after week.
He's been getting some run, but I was a little bit concerned with the target share he got in New England. He wasn't the guy going up against Christian Gonzalez, most of those reps that fell to Emeka Egbuka. And he still only got 5 targets on 39 routes, so he wasn't quite in that Baker Mayfield circle of trust. That said, Baker Mayfield is a football lunatic, and if he knows a guy can help him out, he's going to target him over and over again. That's how Tez got those 2 touchdown catches. He's going to continue getting a ton of playing time because the Bucs skill positions are cursed right now. You don't have Bucky Irving. You don't have Chris Godwin. You don't have Mike Evans. So the run will be there. It's a more trustworthy quarterback situation. I think I'm going to go Tez Johnson as well. Finally, another guy I'm kind of excited to talk about because we don't really know what the Jacksonville Jaguars are. We don't really know what fellow Rhode Island scumbag Liam Cohen is going to do with that offense, how he's going to respond to getting thrown off the field in Energy Stadium. Because I still can't get my mind around that one, Yash. I don't understand how you let Davis Mills. Anyway, Parker Washington right now, 41% owned, a popular pickup due to injuries to Travis Hunter and Brian Thompson Jr. Do you see his hot streak continuing, and do you want him over Jayden Higgins of the Houston Texans?
I do. I really do. And the big reason I'm thinking of this is what happened last year. I know it wasn't Trevor Lawrence, it was Mac Jones, but after the bye, second half of the year, guy who capitalized on his playing time, Brian Thomas Jr., was a rookie back then. So we got another younger, inexperienced guy coming on, and he seems to be playing pretty well. He's getting his opportunities. And I don't think those opportunities are going to go away anytime soon. Jacoby Myers, obviously you saw last week, yesterday, almost had a touchdown. Penalty goes through. Who do they go to next play? Parker Washington. So it seems like they have plans for him. So unlike Higgins, who is getting more inconsistent run, it seems like Washington's found a more consistent role. So that's why I would stick with Washington.
The former 6th-round pick already matched his career high in routes run. We're barely halfway through the season. Obviously, a lot of that injury contingent, but this is a guy who is making his case to stay on the field because he is just so explosive. He had that return touchdown yesterday. He's a guy who gets out there and makes things happen. You have an offensive-minded head coach in Cohen. He's not going to keep him off the field. He knows what he can do for him. And also, yeah, Hunter might be back at some point. We don't know. I mean, it wasn't a torn ACL, but a non-contact knee injury. You're going to bring him back slowly. And Brian Thomas, even when he's healthy, has been off this year. It's been a very trying experience for a guy that's all of a sudden dropping passes, seems to be inside his own head. Yeah. So you want to bring him back, maybe slowly build him up, and you want to keep Parker Washington into that offense. I think there's just too much upside there to pass up. So, yes, even though Higgins is maybe wide receiver 2 in Houston, I think you want the wide receiver 3-4 type in Jacksonville in a Parker Washington just because he's got a little bit more of a creative offense. He maybe has a more stable passing situation, even though Trevor Lawrence kind of stinks this year. He's definitely in the lineup, which is an improvement over Stroud and Mills battling it out right now due to injury. I think I want Parker Washington as well.
Yep.
Let's switch gears and head to the tight end position where we're going to talk about, Cade Otton coming off his best day of the season, 12 targets, 9 catches, 82 yards against the New England Patriots. Should you bring him on board? He's about 42% owned in Yahoo leagues. We're going to talk about guys right about at his level, and we're going to go up from there and figure out who you should drop to bring Cade Otton on board, starting with Houston Texans tight end Dalton Schultz. Yash, Otton or Schultz?
Give me Otton for now.
Okay.
Once again, he is another player that Baker Mayfield likes to pummel the ball with, especially when Mike Evans is out, which, like we talked about in the last segment, he's going to be out for a while. So he went to Otton early and often yesterday. I don't think that changes. I like Schultz, but I think that Otton is going to get more consistent usage, especially moving forward. So, yeah, give me Cade Otton in that case.
I disagree there just because we've seen him out on the field running a ton of routes, and that depleted a Mike Evans list, Chris Godwin list, Bucky Irving list lineup. But he hasn't really been producing at that high a level, hasn't been turning those routes into targets that often. He's maximizing the targets he gets. He's had double digits in 5 of his last 6 games. The one miss there was an 8-pointer. So he's consistent and he's solid. But I think the floor of a guy like Dalton Schultz is a little bit higher because he's seeing the ball more often. He's getting a higher target share. And listen, the thing Otton's going to have over Schultz right now is that Otton's going to get red zone targets.
Yeah.
Dalton Schultz basically has none. He's 1 touchdown this season. I think he has 4 total red zone targets. He's not the guy near the end zone for Houston, but he is the guy near the line of scrimmage. They've dialed back his target distance quite a bit, and now he's kind of thriving in a high volume but maybe low yardage role. In PPR leagues, doesn't matter. That's going to pay off for you. So give me Dalton Schultz in this one.
Okay.
Next man up, former Pro Bowler, and now part of a platoon for the Cleveland Browns, David Njoku. Guys, you want Cade Otton or do you want the veteran David Njoku?
You're going to laugh, but I'm going with Otton once again here. Yeah. The thing with Njoku is he's still splitting time with Fannin. Both of them are part of the Cleveland offense, if you can call it that, after what witnessed yesterday. Maybe they go to Sanders and we start seeing a little bit more going up the middle, but I just don't trust the quarterback in Cleveland right now. I know that Njoku is a great player, great tight end. He gets plenty of run, but if he can't have a quarterback that can get him the ball, then what's the point of rostering him? So, no, I'm going to stick with Otton in this one.
The Browns still giving Njoku a lot of run because they're running 12 personnel sets with 2 tight ends more than anyone else in the league. They do it about half the time, which makes sense because Harold Fannon's been great. The last 2 weeks, Fannin 54 routes, Njoku only 40. Without the touchdowns, he'd be pretty much fantasy irrelevant. Now, granted, that's probably going to keep happening. This is a team that's targeted one of those 2 tight ends on about a third of their passing plays this year, just because things are bad. And Jerry Jeudy finally came online in week 10, but he had led the league in drops up until then. So not a lot of trustworthy receivers in that Browns offense. That's why they are defaulting back to the tight ends. Yeah. But if you want one Cleveland tight end right now, it's the rookie out of Bowling Green. Fannin Njoku, veteran leader, a guy you definitely want on the team, a guy who can definitely boost you on a week-to-week basis. But if you are picking up one guy for the playoff run that you're going to be putting in your lineup week after week after week, it's going to be Cade Otton for me.
Right.
Finally, a guy who has fallen off along with the quarterback play in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I bring that up solely so a bunch of guys with Skol in their Twitter handles can yell at me online. TJ Hawkinson of the Minnesota Vikings going through a bit of a slump this year. The name value is there. The athleticism is there. And he's been doing a bang-up job as a blocker for Minnesota. Blocking doesn't translate, however, to fantasy points. So, Yash, who do you want? Cade Otton or the 72% owned TJ Hawkinson?
This will be a clean sweep for Cade Otton in my eyes in this exercise. You've already said it. Hawkinson is not getting the typical run that he's gotten in years past. He's been used much more as a blocker. Now, is that because J.J. McCarthy needs more protection? Is he more likely to take off? Probably. Could be a little part of it. But either way, he just does not look like the same. He's not getting the same production that he has in years past. So I'm going to take the guy whose quarterback is actually feeding him the ball, which would be Cade Otton.
There are 70 tight ends who've run at least 50 routes this season. TJ Hawkinson's 0.81 yards per route run ranks 59th among them. His target distance is way down as well. So not only is he not getting targeted, he's getting targeted when he does get the ball about half as far downfield as he was with Sam Darnold in the lineup. This is definitely a offense that is trying to build up J.J. McCarthy, trying to make sure he has a safety valve, and that safety valve is T.J. Hawkinson. J.J. McCarthy believes in J.J. McCarthy so hard, though, that he is not checking down that often. He is trying to make things happen. So he's getting the ball out to Justin Jefferson, to Jordan Addison, to Jalen Naylor. And
don't forget Naylor this week.
In some cases. Yeah, a Naylor probably ruined someone out there's fantasy season with a huge performance in week 10. And McCarthy, he's got the arm. He's got great pinpoint accuracy on some throws. Some throws he's making bad reads, and he does need to check down to Hawkinson. But you don't want to – you want him to take those risks at this point in his career. And Kevin O'Connell wants him to take those risks because he knows what he could be building up to. So, no, I don't see Hawkinson turning things around. Otton has the more stable floor. And if we're being honest, probably the higher ceiling.
Yeah.
We're on now to Smash the Stash. Smash the Stash, where we talk about guys who are 10% owned or lower in Yahoo leagues, who we would hide at the very bottom of our rosters. Maybe a guy just went on injured reserve, waiver wire's been picked through, but hey, maybe a guy you like a little bit's out there. And for me, I got a guy in mind, but Yash, I want to pick your brain because you were always sniping my guys off the bottom-most rungs of the waiver ladder. Who is your stash pick heading into week 11 of the 2025 season?
All right. My stash pick this week is A.D. Mitchell of the New York Jets. Okay. I thought this was a great move for Mitchell to end up in a situation where he's actually going to get a second chance. He's a player that can make something out of nothing. And with the Jets, that's what exactly he's going to have to do. Yeah. So he's got 8 games to show his new team that he is that talented individual that was a highly regarded draft pick coming out of the draft last year, that has learned from his mistakes and can be a dynamic playmaker, especially with Garrett Wilson getting re-injured again. He might actually have a shot to make people say, oh man, he is pretty good, huh? Damn.
A very versatile wideout, but man, trusting any member of the Jets offense right now is
this is why he's a bench stash. He's an upside guy.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not doing much better, man, because my guy is Devin Neal of the New Orleans Saints.
Okay,
a guy that's in that DeAndre Swift category, where like, the Kyle Monangai category rather, because the guy ahead of him makes so many mistakes and is so frustrating. You go, oh my God, we got to get this guy in the lineup. We got to push him forward. Alvin Kamara having his worst season as a rusher, one of the worst rush yards over expected of his career in the NFL right now as well. And Neal went out there, 4 carries, turned him into 22 yards. He had 3 targets, caught all of them. He's building up slowly, but listen, Kellen Moore knows what 2025 is. He's not necessarily looking to win games this season. He's trying to figure out who's going to be his bell cow going forward, who is going to be the key to his rebuild. A guy like Kamara, you want him in there. He's the adult in the room for that offense. He's the guy who can do things the right way for Tyler Shuck and or Spencer Rattler if they bring him back. But eventually he's going to cede time and snaps and carries to Devin Neal, because this is a Saints team that needs to figure out what the hell it is before Mickey Loomis sends him right back into salary cap purgatory this offseason.